Ooh, what up, though? It is another Tuesday. This is Knockouts and Three Counts, but we've got another good episode for you tonight as we bring on Fallon Johnson, another one of the ladies fighting for Invicta FC on June 28th. We're going to get into her fight, her pro debut, her training with past guests of the show, Zoe Nowicki, and a lot more. But before I get to do that, though, I got to tell you about the homies who helped bring this show to you, our guys over at Potter's Tree Service. As you can see here, if you need anything in the tree removal, tree trimming, chipping service, storm damage cleanup, lot clearing, walnut logging, and now just cutting your damn grass, Potter's Tree Service is the way to go. Check out all the services they got on there. All the links to their stuff are in the description. Go over there, check them out. Here it is all on the screen, and tell them Knockouts and Three Counts sent you, and enjoy the show.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mitten.
This is the Ring.
Why is it?
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a.
And I don't know what the hell's going on with the intro today, but that's not wanting to work the way it's supposed to. But
this intro today.
I know. I mean, seriously, the thing keeps saying it's playing on my screen, but it's not playing anything. StreamYard, get your shit together. But with that being said, I wasn't lying when I said we got a great episode. As you guys know, if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But we just had Zoe Nowicki on to talk about her fight for Invicta FC, and tonight we are joined by not only one of her teammates, but another one of the ladies that's going to be throwing down June 28th for Invicta FC. So making her debut tonight is Fallon Johnson. I appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Let everybody know where they can find you, social medias and all that good stuff.
Yeah, everything is Fallon Johnson MMA. So Facebook, Instagram, all the usuals.
Fairly easy. Fairly easy. Keep it
man,
simple. I
keep
like
it
that.
simple, stupid. You know the saying. Come on now. You gotta make it. Especially in 2024, you gotta like dumb it down for people. But all right, talking about what we've got going on, we talked about you fighting June 28th for Invicta. But before we get to that, I want to get into a little bit of your foray into the MMA game, because in doing my research to the fights that you've had so far, you're still really new to the game. So before we get to this fight and making your pro debut for Invicta, talk to me a little bit about how you got into the world of MMA. What was it that sparked you? And then what made you decide, okay, I want to fight?
Yeah, so I kind of got in gradually. I took like a handful of different classes when I was like in college and working somewhere. And then after graduating, I started coaching like fitness kickboxing classes, and then started like obsessing over jiu-jitsu and training like every single day, getting into kickboxing, and it just kind of spiraled from there. And then I made a move. I was training out in like New York, New Jersey at first, and then I moved back to Michigan, where I'm from, and started at Scorpion, and right after that got into fighting.
Good. So that was one of the things I was going to ask about, because in looking through, I'm like, okay, it says that she was training in New York and all this stuff here. So how'd you end up in New York?
I went to NYU. I kind of always wanted to move out there, but moved for college and stayed. I was there for like 7 years. So.
I've only been to New York once. I can't lie. It wasn't exactly my favorite place to be, maybe because it was such a pain in the ass to like get around. And for wrestling fans, as our show also covers the world of pro wrestling, it was like the longest and wettest fucking WrestleMania in history, because I got rained on for like 8 hours because the Giant Stadium is all open. It was all over Twitter. Like nobody could get back to their Ubers and all that stuff. It was the night that Ronda Rousey was in the main event too. So it was an interesting night.
While you were there, did you get to check out Times Square or what?
Oh yeah, of course I did. Went down there and bought a little. I bought some shit that I didn't need. Part of the course. Bought me a little bit of clothes when we was over there at Foot Locker, and then I had to figure out how I was going to Foot Locker that shit into my suitcase so I could get home.
Yeah, that's the worst. You always come back with more than you get left with.
Hey man, all in all though, I mean, like the arenas, it was dope to go to Madison Square Garden. It was dope to go to the Barclays Center. I got to check out most of their arenas and then go to the Giant Stadium, and then ended up working out with Seth Rollins and them while I was down there, and Castagnoli just made us all look like a bunch of bitches.
Of course.
I mean, that guy makes a lot of people look like
dude.
bitches. Just turn on the wrestling. But with that being said, you talked about moving back here from New York and training at Scorpion and all that stuff. What's the biggest differences you got in your training out here in Michigan, other than being able to like have your family around and those kind of things, versus where you were training at in New York?
I think before I was training like strictly jiu-jitsu and strictly kickboxing and not as much of like the MMA game. So switching to Scorpion and being at like a true MMA gym where every practice, even if it's a jiu-jitsu class, like a lot of us are geared to MMA and like you're aware of those things is a little bit different. And just having like the team of fighters around us is a lot.
Was that always the plan for you to be in the MMA? Or was it like, maybe I'll go box, maybe I'll do kickboxing? Was it always a plan to end up in the MMA game?
I mean, when I first started out, it wasn't like a direct goal of mine, but definitely over the years, like I was competing a lot in just jiu-jitsu for a while. And then the more I competed, I think I started seeing myself getting into MMA and just kind of putting the pieces together to get there.
Hell yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Back in the day, like, so I first started training at least for like MMA and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that in like 2007 or 2008. And it's like back then you would always get people where it's like one guy is real good at boxing. This guy might be really good at wrestling. This guy might be like the jiu-jitsu guy. It was like you'd have people where it was like you were really good at one discipline and then you kind of just knew the rest. It's crazy to see how the game's evolved to the point where now, like with what we're talking about with you with fighting for Invicta FC, that I mean, you've got to know like all the facets of the game. And training at a place like Scorpion Fighting Systems, I mean, they got a lot of killers out there. I mean, I've been around the Michigan scene for at least 15 years. So, I mean, I've seen everybody from Taylor Moore come out of there. Like I mentioned, Zoe Nowicki, who we just had on last week. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. But, I mean, you guys had Parisian and everybody else. I mean, UFC guys, everything you could want. And a nice facility, too. So, I mean, I've always had seen a lot of success from the people at SFS. How do you feel about what made now the right time for you to turn pro, and what was that conversation like? Was it just you deciding it? Was your coach deciding? Where were we at with that?
It was definitely a team decision. I kind of knew throughout last year that I was hoping to turn pro at some point, like in this year. But after like doing the amateur fights, and then I went to Thailand and competed for Gamma in December. And it was just kind of after that we were ready to take the next step and bring it up to the pro level.
Well, that was another thing I wanted to ask you about too. We've gotten to talk at length because Zoe's been on the show a couple times about her experiences in Gamma. Talk to me about that. What was that like? How different was that from what you're used to over here? And how do you feel like that helps prepare you as you go into your pro debut?
I think the tournament style is like very unique, and it's cool to get that experience. Like you don't really see that, especially in the US anymore. So that, and then just like I've kind of traveled for all of my amateur fights, but getting to travel like all the way across the world and getting that experience against people from completely different countries, I think you just see a lot different skill sets than you'll see on the amateur level here.
And I mean, the cool thing with here in Michigan is, again, to the same point with like the evolution and things. Now, at least there's like a lot of shows that you can fight at. Like there's a lot of different promotions here. There's a lot of places for you to get amateur fights. There's a lot more smokers now than smoker fights, you know what I mean? Like a lot of those more than you would see back in the day too. It's crazy how MMA's finally gotten to this point where it's like everybody's wanting to see it. Everybody wants to see what's happening. Like when I first started training, it was like just when the UFC was starting to get big. So we were still kind of at the point where it was like,
we're still trying to figure out if it's okay to watch. I remember
my grandpa used to go when I boxed and everything, went to my boxing fights. But like then when I started training jiu-jitsu and all that stuff, he always thought MMA was sissy because you could kick a guy and knee a guy and elbow a guy. It's like, well, I mean, you would do that in a fight, wouldn't you? He's like, well,
until they watch it, and then all of a sudden they see these guys' teeth getting knocked out, and they're like, what? Then it turns into like a guilty pleasure. Right? You watch this? Are you supposed to be watching this? I remember that. I remember my
Dude, my grandpa used to
used to be
watch Mike
watching
Tyson
this.
kill people. All right, like, come on now.
Yeah, dude. What do you mean? This is America now. This is how it goes.
This is American.
MMA, combat sports, baby. We love this shit.
Oh shit. But I mean, that's good to hear with Gamma because like I said, we have talked about that a little bit. And I mean, getting experience like that on such a high level, even before you go as a pro, has got to only help you as you go into Invicta. Speaking of Invicta, talk to me a little bit about that. You know, for those that don't know, Invicta FC is all female promotion. They were on UFC Fight Pass a bunch. I don't know if they still will be now, but they just signed a deal with CBS Sports. Talk to me about getting the call to fight for Invicta #1. And what are your thoughts on the fact that they just picked up this deal with CBS?
Yeah, I think making my pro debut for a league like Invicta is huge. Like I remember watching like the Ultimate Fighter coming up, and every girl pretty much was like related to Invicta. So that was always kind of like on the stepping stool. And I'm really excited to be making my pro debut for them. And yeah, CBS Sports, like having the deal that will be streamed there is a big step for them. So it's really awesome to be a part of that.
J-Bone, what are your thoughts on that, man? We saw CBS Sports have their run with Bellator.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts with them picking up Invicta?
Are they doing it solely on the app, or how's that working?
I'm not sure. I mean, we were talking about that a little bit before it went live on the air. You know, I've been talking back and forth with Invicta, so if any of the brass over there wants to come on and hear
way,
it,
dude, I think it's good for the sport. One, I mean, any way we can get more eyes on any type of combat sports, I think it's good for everybody. You know, especially Invicta. They've been around for a minute, like you said, all women's league. It's time for them to be showcased anyway. So if you can get it on such a platform as CBS, that's a huge deal, man. So not saying the pressure's on, but the pressure's kind of on. You know what I mean? Like this is a big deal for them. So kudos to them, man. Good job.
Hey, man, I think it's going to be dope.
Wasn't that like a tagline for one of the channels where the world's watching or some shit like that? Remember that back in the day? It
does sound familiar.
I might be showing my age here, but
well, I mean, don't feel bad. I mean, I was feeling. I don't know if you peeped it the other night, but Busted Open brought it up. But I mean, it's no different than how like all the TNA pay-per-views, if you really look at them, they're like 90% of them are all named after a Steven Seagal movie and shit. They're all fucking titles. Yeah, they're all fucking titles to the different movies, and it's like at first I thought they were joking, but I think they counted them out, and I think they said like 9 or 10 of their pay-per-view names are all fucking Steven Seagal movies. Like, how is that possible? Did we just sit down at a table and say, "Here's all the Steven Seagal movies. This one looks cool. Fuck that one. This one looks cool. Fuck that one."
Yeah. Hey, Steven Seagal is that guy, man. So.
Hey, bro, my dad was a huge fan of all of his stuff as well. But speaking of being a fan of things, talk to me about who were some of the influences for you as far as MMA? Like, who were some of the names where you were like, okay, I really like watching this guy or this girl, or I like the way they do this, that, or the other? Who were some of the inspirations as far as MMA goes?
There's a lot on the female side. I've always looked up to like Rose Namajunas. Valentina has always been a fun one to watch. But really just all the girls like Joanna and Wei Li, like watching the girls that really like go for it and have exciting matches has always been like my biggest inspiration for sure.
Oh, there's been some classics too in the women's divisions. Holy shit.
Dude, almost any fight that Wei Li Zhang's in that she didn't just like kill the fucking person.
You throw
like
her fights in the cage, dude, and you got like an instant classic on your hands right there.
Speaking of instant classics and talking about matchups, talk to me about your matchup June 28th. What are your thoughts on your opponent? How do you feel you stack up?
Yeah, I'm excited. Fighting Violeta Mendoza. From watching her, it looks like she's going to be pretty well-rounded too, but I think that I have a lot to offer and I'll be able to show my skill set pretty well.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, it's your pro debut. Are you somebody who is watching a lot of tape? Do you know a lot about your opponent? Did you guys really put a big game plan together for this one? Or is it one of those where as long as I'm, doing what I do right, that's all that I need to worry about?
Yeah, I think I focus more on just developing my skills and being on my A game. Definitely being aware of like what my opponents have to offer is important. So like we'll watch the tape and address anything that we see as like a threat or anything that we want to work on, but we focus more on just me being at my best and being at my A game.
The thing I noticed going down this card that I also thought was really cool is, from what I can see, it looks like they're all really well matched fights. Like, your opponent's only got one pro fight, you are making your debut. You both had a couple losses headed into coming into being a pro. Like, she was on a couple fight losing streak before she got her first win as a pro too. So that's one thing, especially now being on the other side of doing the commentary and all that stuff. It's always a lot more refreshing, and I feel like, even as a fan, to watch the fights, in that it's always cool when that the matchups are pretty even, we're both at the same spot. I feel like you get better matchups, you get better fights that way. And I mean, it gets to be a bummer at times because, and this happens everywhere, but you can see fights when somebody was put in there just to make the other guy look good. Or, you know what I mean? Like, this is a guy I want to get a tune-up against this guy before I go fight whoever it is. So it's always nice to see when that's happening. And it really looks like Invicta FC is trying to really rebuild themselves off of the young guns like yourself. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of the talent I see on the roster. Now, at the top end of this card, we do have some really good fights, but up and down the card, you can see there's a lot of young up and coming talent like yourself who's making your pro debut and stuff like that. That gives you an ability to be able to grow in a company. So that's an even bigger positive for you as you come out of this fight. I mean, what do you think the future is going to be for Invicta now that they're back? Because, I mean, they give a really good platform to female fighters, now that with them being the only all women's promotion that I know of. I mean, what are your thoughts on how they'll be able to kind of stick their foot in the sand in today's landscape?
Yeah, I mean, I think Invicta's always been somebody that brings people up through the ranks, especially starting off. So I think that now that they're coming back and they have a pretty set schedule, like for the rest of the year, they have fights pretty much every 6 to 8 weeks. So the more consistent that they get with that, they'll help build people up through the ranks and really show that. I think by the end of the next couple of years, it won't mean so much like that you want to be a champion there just to go to the UFC, but it'll just mean a lot to be an Invicta champion.
Yeah, J-Bone, that CBS deal, man. I mean, I feel like we said, that's going to get so many more eyes on Invicta, man. So
yeah, for
that
sure.
being said, it's just going to be it's the trajectory's going up. Good deal, way to bring up the company. So I think we're going to see a lot more of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this fight plays out. But as we mentioned, you are not the only Scorpion Fighting Systems fighter that we have on this card as well. Talk to me about your camp and how that's been helpful for you guys both to be kind of working towards the same date and being able to be in camp at the same time. How has that affected training for this? And do you think that's going to benefit you on the 28th?
Yeah, 100%. Me and Zoe have had a couple of fights where even if it's not the same exact event or same day, it's like the same weekend or like Gamma where we went together and everything. So it's always nice to kind of have somebody at the same stage of camp you're at. Like when you're feeling drained, they're feeling drained too. When we're getting ready, we're going together. So that definitely helps a lot. And we just have a really great girl squad at Scorpion that we all train hard together and we help each other get through training. And it's nice to have bodies in the room that aren't just like big guys you have to work with. You actually have a lot of people your own size around, which is nice.
You just brought up another thing that I think would be interesting to talk about. I mean, I'm still not big by any means now, but I mean, I competed at 125, 135, 145, for a long time. And, that was one thing that was always interesting to me when it came to training. For me, I felt like I always got used to training with bigger people because that's a lot of what was kind of in the room, and that was kind of what it was. And I always looked at it, I guess, from the sense of like, if you can do well against somebody who's that big, then when I go with somebody my size, it's going to be better. Talk to me about, you coming from the female side of things, how does that affect the way, like you're picking out your partners? Do you still spar with the guys a lot? Do you, would you rather prefer training if it was like just the ladies, or do you like a mix of both?
Definitely a mix of both. it kind of depends on situations, and it's nice to have like guys that aren't like 100 pounds heavier than you, but guys that are like a little bit bigger than you to have those like more intense rounds, but also to have people your own size. Because even if it's like you can have a good match skill wise, but it's always different. Like if somebody's a little bit heavier, they're moving a little bit slower most of the time. So even though it's like the power is different, like it's not the same as facing somebody in your own weight class necessarily.
I always, I mean, I just thought about it as she was saying it. Cause like I said, I mean, obviously it's a little different for like how our bodies work and things like that as well. Because like I said, I mean, especially when I first started switching, cause I switched from boxing to just boxing to like jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. And then like, that's one thing you learn. Plus like, you can always tell when you go other places, like the way places are like that. Like for instance, I got to go out to American Top Team, and we were training out there, and I was at the time I was a blue belt, I think, and then went out there to train, but I left my belt at home, so they didn't realize that I'd trained before. And so then they put me with this girl, and they were like, you know, we really appreciate how you weren't like, you know, just trying to beat somebody up. I was like, dude, I was always if you're trained by a good coach, I feel like at some point they tell you like, you know, you kind of got to read the situation. There's a way to roll hard and go hard without, you know, just beating the hell out of somebody.
Don't go out there and kill anybody.
Not to mention, I'm in a room full of about 100 fucking dudes, a lot of them that are UFC fighters and all this stuff too, because this is before they got the new American Top Team facility too. So it's just like, yeah, let me just go in here and be an asshole and try to throw somebody around and get the shit kicked out of me. That sounds like a great fucking idea.
That never goes well.
You don't want to do that.
No, dude. And everybody, if you train long enough, I feel like everybody's seen one of those happen at least once or twice. Like I've seen a couple times where, shout out to Big Don, who you'll see this Friday. If you're coming out to Motor City Casino, make sure you check out our episode with our guy Drew All Day Murray, who will be making his return to the ring for that one. But I've seen guys come in and just try to out wrestle Don or stuff like that, or like I mentioned on the show last week, Métis, who I trained with him for most of the Muay Thai stuff I did. You know, like, I mean, dude, he's only 145 pounds, maybe, but I mean, he's a 6-time champ in Lumpany. So like watching him laugh when people would like try to kick him harder, than he kicks these big ass dudes in the legs and they just drop like a sack of potatoes. Like, I feel like that's something that'll never be out of the way things are, especially with the way like everything seems to be with the media. In 2024, it seems like you get a lot more trolls who will just show up at the gym and spar, because I keep seeing all these videos of these people going into the UFC gyms and just getting the shit kicked out of them. I just saw one, was it a couple weeks ago, Natan Levy beat the shit out of some guy over at Extreme Couture.
I seen that. I think I know what you're talking about. I love when these YouTubers go in there and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna come in here and just you know, get in some sparring. It's like, what, dude? Like, if I was training in that gym, I'm like, you got some balls on you. I'm about to fuck you up. That's what I'd fucking feel like.
Did you ever see the one where the guy tried that with Deontay Wilder?
Yes.
Beat the fuck out of them all around the
gym?
Dude.
Anything for content. It's kind of ridiculous.
Dude, come on. At that point, is it really about doing it for content, or are you like half-ass thinking that you've got half a chance? Because you watch these videos and I'm like, do you motherfuckers not realize that there's a reason why that they're like up here fighting and you're just sitting on the couch? Like, I mean,
stupid.
Yeah,
you deserve to get your head knocked off if you go in there thinking some dumb shit.
I mean, hey, it's a way to keep your mind off of things. But, you know, speaking of how things are going to play out and all that stuff, before I ask you about a couple of the other things that we've got going on in the world of MMA, you got to tell me, how does this fight on June 28th end? Do you have a prediction? All right, do we see a finish? You think it's going the distance? How do you expect this fight to go?
I see a finish. I definitely see myself just like controlling the fight, but I have a lot of different skills. I think I'll be able to get the finish. For sure.
You heard it. Put some money on the damn finish. Where's Drop Zone at? Tell Drop Zone that needs to be on the damn parlay.
He needs to win us some money, man.
We got to take Fallon by finish. We're going to say Zoe by finish. I'm going to win some motherfucking money.
I got a question real quick.
FC. That's what I'm talking
Kyle,
about.
you know how we do locker room etiquette? You can go. Go ahead. You know we do locker room etiquette?
Yeah,
for wrestling, for, you know, is there a locker room etiquette for MMA?
The only ones that we've ever gotten into is like, and we can get into that too. Do you have any like superstitions or any like fight week prep things? Like you got to do this during your weight cut, or I gotta eat this after I get after I weigh in or whatever like that. Do you got any pet peeves or anything for fight week?
Not really. I mean, after the weight cut, definitely like being intelligent about hydrating and eating good, but nothing. I try not to be like too strict about things and just kind of flow, because it's, especially like with traveling, it's like you're not going to have control of every single thing throughout the week. So you just got to be calm with it and go with the flow.
Here's my favorite question. I asked it to a couple people. After the weight cut, after the fight, after it's all said and done, what's the first meal you're going to get after this is all over?
Usually it's like a cheeseburger after the fight's done.
Let's go. I knew I liked you for a reason. I eat a lot of cheeseburgers. What goes on the cheeseburger?
Man.
What goes on it?
Yeah, how do you get your cheeseburger done? And are you just like a plain Jane cheeseburger, or do you like the barbecue bacon ones? What are we doing?
I'll do like bacon, but not like the like super tall, obnoxious ones, just regular cheeseburger.
A couple little strips, you'll be all right.
Go on that rock diet, dude. Get you a big stack of pancakes after the fight. Just 10, 20 pancakes. Golly.
If I could look half as good as The Rock does now at 32, we'd be all right. Like that motherfucker. I can't wait to see this movie with him playing Mark Kerr, because I want to see how well he really did at MMA. Like I see all these videos.
Did you see the screen images of him like in makeup and everything? Have you seen?
He looks like him, but dude, did you see his arm? He ripped his damn.
Yeah, I did.
It was his pecker ripped some shit off his chest trying to do like the training to get ready for it. It's like you're getting old, big dog. But
yeah, what is he like? 55? 50?
He's in his 50s. I don't know what it is, but he's getting up there, dude.
I mean, hey, I ain't hating.
I'm not hating at all. I mean, if I was making money like that, we'd be all right.
Right.
But with that being said, we talked about your fight. We talked a little bit about Invicta FC and all those things. Before we get to the last couple headlines that I wanted to talk about for the show, I got to give a shout out to our other sponsor, Mitten Muay Thai, which, as you can see here in these highlights, somebody's going to get knocked the fuck out. It's not going to be May 3rd like the video said. We're still waiting on the new commercial. It's going to be August 9th, man. If you get down with kickboxing, you like to see somebody get knocked out, you like to see a little bit of blood, make sure you check it out. Tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. Your boy will be on the commentary. It's going to be a good time.
I love
it.
They got the coolest
one of these
promo.
days we'll get you there.
They got the coolest fucking promo.
I mean, I'm not mad at it. I mean, there were a lot of people getting knocked out. I mean, ain't that what most people want to see with a fight?
Exactly.
But with that being said, I got to get your thoughts on some of these headlines that we got going on over here. What are your thoughts on this whole thing with Conor?
I mean, I personally don't feel surprised that the fight's called off. I feel like that was expected as soon as they scheduled it. I was having flashbacks to like the Tony and Khabib fight that got canceled like 5 times.
I mean,
no, I'm not gonna lie, dude. As much as I want to see that fight, I'm not completely shocked that it got called off or postponed or whatever the case is now. Whatever, but not surprised. Sucks because I think we've all been waiting for that, but I've
said it all along, dude. The one I feel bad for is Michael Chandler. Like, we got to interview him for his hiatus tequila, which if you guys didn't get to check that out, make sure you go check that out. I never would have taken Michael Chandler for a tequila guy, but here we are. But with that being said, I feel bad for him because think about that. They've been talking about this fight for 2 years now.
Yeah.
He hasn't fought anybody in those 2 years. So you could have at least made some money off the other fights and stuff. And now it's getting pushed back even further. But here's the question. I mean, it's almost one of those things where it's like, is the risk worth the reward? Because he might get paid more for this one Conor McGregor fight.
Exactly.
He's made
I think that's probably what's making him
UFC
hold on, right? That's probably what's making him hold on to it, is because you're going to probably quadruple your salary by fighting this one guy. You know what I mean? So why go out there and risk getting hurt, risk getting beat up, risk losing your stock in the game when you could hold. I mean, I don't know what, do you know the latest on the injury and how long it's postponed or
I
whatever?
still haven't really heard what the actual injury is.
I haven't
Like,
either.
that's the thing. Unless I'm tripping and missed it. Like, I've not heard anything as to like what did he hurt? How bad did he hurt it?
Anything.
Like, what?
They've kept it under wraps. I don't know.
Well, and you had to know when the first press conference was in Dublin and they canceled that. Like you said, I mean, you know they would have went apeshit over there for Conor McGregor.
yeah.
So it's for that to happen, you knew something was off with it. Fallon, what are your thoughts on the fights that they've put there in the place? You know, they've announced now that the main event's going to be Pereira and Prochazka, and then you've got I got to pull up the card, but that's your new main event. They've got a lot of good fights on it. Now that Jamal Hill's out, you've got Anthony Smith versus Carlos Ulberg, which will be probably a good fight. A lot of good fights on that one, but how are you feeling about the ones they put in there? Are you still looking forward to this fight, or is it one of those things I was really kind of just looking forward to seeing the Conor fight?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the rest of the fights will still be good, and having the title fight take place it's a good replacement for sure. It'll still keep a lot of interest in the card, but I mean, I feel like it's just a little bit different than a Conor McGregor fight for sure.
Right.
Did you hear the
biggest gate in UFC history, right?
That's what I was about to say, though. Did you hear like what the lowest price for the those tickets was?
I haven't heard, but
dog, it was over $1,000, and we're talking about the bleeds.
So I know on that card too. There's also Ian Gary versus Venom Page, right? That'll be a good one. That I'm looking forward to that fight, but
100%. That fight's gonna be badass.
Yeah, that's gonna be dope too. But it's just, man, when you announce the Conor McGregor fight, that's when the rumblings start happening, right? That's when the excitement starts to build. So, as much as I hate to say it, dude, being out of the game, there's still nobody with the stock like Conor McGregor. It's look what ticket sales did just based off of a fight announcement. You know what I mean? The guy. I don't know.
My question is, what do you think they do with all those tickets? Do those people get any of that money back? Like if they say, fuck it, I don't want to see this fight, instead of the Conor McGregor thing? Because think about it. Like I just said, if what they say about this whole thing with the prices is true, that means every person in there spent at least $1,000.
Yeah. To see Conor, and he ain't going to be there.
The floor seats were going for like $12,000. So like if I paid $12,000 for something and he ain't fighting, I don't know, man.
How that works as far as ticket sales and reimbursement.
You know, Dana don't want to give him none of that fucking money back. Come on,
like
bro.
A refund, and then you go buy the ticket again for what, $1,000 cheaper or something. I don't know.
Well, dude, look at how WrestleMania tickets are these days, dude. Like, I mean, now that scalpers can buy them, dude, like that's why everything is just stupid expensive. I feel like that's just going to be a thing that's like the new way of going to fights and things, but. Speaking of new way and going to different fights, do we have any thoughts on the other matchup that was announced? Fucking Jake Paul's going to fight Mike Perry in a boxing match. And
Good.
Donald,
you know what?
I hope you're watching, Donald, because I'll say it here on the show and eat my crow. You said a few days ago that this shit was going to happen, and I told you I'll believe it when I see Jake Paul or somebody post about it. Well, here we are. I don't know if this is going to be the end of Jake Paul, but I kind of hope it is.
I can hope so. I hope Mike Perry knocks him clean out of the ring, dude. I'm so sick of this guy. Just, you know what? Whatever. You ain't going to knock out my fucking favorite fighter of all time, damn it. You know what I mean? 55,
Jake Paul's taking it personal.
That's Mike Tyson, dude. How dare you? How dare you get him into a fight knowing that? I mean, don't get me wrong. Mike Tyson's a killer. We always knew that. But they know what they're doing. All you got to do is dance around long enough and Tyson's going to get tired. He's 55 years old. Or what is it? I don't even know what he is.
He's almost 60, dog.
Old, dude. Do you know any 60-year-old out there that can just run around a boxing ring and be in boxing shape? Absolutely not. So I'm kind of glad this happened the way it did. So hopefully Mike Perry, and I really think.
So do you think? Here's the question though. Let's say Mike Perry does go in there and knocks Jake's head off. What are the chances you think that fight still happens?
I wouldn't take it. At that point, if I was Mike Tyson, I'd be the cocky guy, and I'd come like, "What do I need to fight you for? I'm Mike Tyson, bro. I don't need to fight you for what? You got beat up. don't care about
Do you think he still takes the fight with Tyson if he loses over here to Perry Fallon?
I mean, I'm sure that's kind of similar with like you're getting a big payday out of it, so maybe who knows? But
it's all about the money at the end of the day, dude.
I'm just shocked that Mike did it because it must be one hell of a paycheck. Because we know that Mike Tyson don't need the money, so they had to offer him like back the Brinks truck up. Because not only that, the fact that this is actually going to be a pro fight is still insane to me. So that Jake Paul could literally say that he might have a real fucking win against Mike Tyson, even though they're not even fighting 3-minute rounds. But that's, I guess, a story for another fucking time. I just hope that we don't see that because, look, I've said it on this show. I'll give all respect where it's due. What Jake Paul and his brother have been able to build between Logan being over in WWE and doing everything he's doing over there. Jake's, whether you like him or not, made himself a foothold in boxing at this point. And, like we've heard from some of the other boxers that have been on the show, the way he's treated the fighters that he's managing is cool. But I don't know, man. These freak show boxers.
Stop picking on the legends, man. You know what I mean? Start at the bottom like everybody else. And
that's kind of where I'm at, especially here's the other thing with the way it happened. Think about it. He finally fights a real boxer and loses to Tommy Fury. And then what's he do the next fight? I know. I'm going to go fucking get Mike Tyson to come out of retirement so I can say I beat Mike Tyson.
That's like crazy if you think about it.
I don't know. That's just how I feel like that went down. Maybe not in quite those words, but I just feel like that's how the fuck that went down. I feel like Mike Perry can knock Jake Paul out, but the only thing that scares me is the same thing that I said with the Mike Tyson fight scares me. Mike Perry, we all know, is very hittable. And if there's only one thing that Jake Paul has is that he can hit hard. I don't think that he'll be able to do it with Mike Perry, but that's the only thing that scares me. Because
I really wish it was a bare knuckle, dude. I wish he would have went.
You and me both, but Jake ain't taking that fight.
He ain't stupid. But
I just hope Mike Perry don't get knocked out. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna happen, but please God, just don't let him get knocked out.
Exactly.
But before we let you get out of here, I gotta ask. So, like I said, we also cover the pro wrestling side of things. Do you ever watch wrestling at all? Were you any fan of that stuff at all?
Here and there. I wouldn't say I'm like know everybody or anything, but definitely enjoy watching it when I do.
I had to ask because it's always interesting how many of the fighters you'll ask that stuff, and some people are like, "No, I never really got into it," and then other ones come out and you're just like, "No fucking way!" Like,
they start going down the list,
dude. Like literally, not just fighters, and then it's the same on the flip side with wrestlers, right? Like when we did the interview with Aaron Stevens, who used to be Damian Sandow in WWE, and he's telling us all about fucking Keith Hackney from like UFC 3 and shit. I'm like, damn, you went with a deep dive on that one, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta love it. That's the one thing that's cool with doing that. Well, we've kept you for quite a long time. So before we let you get out of here, if you got any last words for anybody who might be checking this fight out, any words for your opponent, and where they can check you out and how you see this one finishing.
Yeah. You can check me out on Instagram, Facebook. It's Fallon Johnson MMA. I do want to thank some of my sponsors. We got King Steel Corporation, Aaron Cantrell Fitness, and Broadstone Homes. Thank you guys all for your support. If you need anything from any of those companies, definitely check them out. I'm super excited to put on a show for all you guys on June 28th. So check it out for Invicta FC, and definitely excited.
Sweet. You heard it. Make sure you're checking it out. Don't blink. If you're in the Michigan area and are going out to the boxing fights this Friday to see last week's guest, Drew All Day Murray, make his return to the ring, I will be down there. Might have a drink or two, but I'll be down there. So like I said, if you guys are anywhere around, we also will be in the building for Juggalo Championship Wrestling, and I feel like this could make for more stories and shit. So I don't know how this is about to go. The last time I was at one of those shows, I was in a cast and almost got killed by a light tube. So let's see if I can make it out of this one. Make sure you check it out this Thursday. We will be back 9 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, and in the in-between time, hit that button. Peace.